the first inaugural podcast of Channel 42. So we have Tor, Phil, and myself, Troy here. And we'll introduce ourselves in a bit, but first we just wanted to just give you a bit of a background of why we're called Channel 42. So I think I'll start with you, Phil, and just ask you, why is it called Channel 42?
Well, Channel, because it's my favorite perfume. And why is it called 42, Troy?
Well, if you guys are familiar with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's a popular book. You may have heard of it. But inside the pages of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a computer that answers the ultimate questions to the universe with the answer 42. And 42, if you guys have ever had the chance or the time, sit down and look at a ASCII chart or an ASCII table and look at what character is represented by the 42. It's an asterisk character. And an asterisk is another way of saying a wild card, or I don't know, or it could be anything, or it depends. So literally, Channel 42 gives us the opportunity to talk about anything that comes to our minds.
Well, I'm going to sideline you there. The question is it an asterisk or an asterisk? Does it matter?
I think there's risk either way.
I think there is. And I'd like to point out a conspiracy theory as well, Troy, right? COVID-19, it's way too hard to stay home. So if you multiply 19 by 2, what do you get? 38, right?
I think 38, yeah.
We've been in isolation for nearly 4 months. If you add 4 to 38, 42,
42.
It's a conspiracy plot.
There's also, I think it's also related to a bit of a cover-up. Just a shout out to Keith Parsons and the work that he's done to put together the channel plan, the channel chart for all the 6 gigahertz spectrum. I think it's interesting that Channel 42 does not show up at all on the 6 gig band.
Again, it's a conspiracy. It's planned that way. Talking to cover-ups, Alan's blanket was quite nice. I think we're having way too much fun here, guys.
You are aware that that it was a big computer that actually came up with the supposed answer, right?
Yep.
Deep thought, right?
Deep thought, right?
You know the computers, they really, in reality, they do binary, right?
Yes.
And if you take your fingers and you say, okay, you got the 1s, you got the 2s, you got the 4s, and you got the 8s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got that?
Yeah.
So if you do the number 2 in binary, right? That's no 1s, no 4s, no 8s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the 4, that's no 1s, no 2s, and a 4. So the computer might have said, yeah, you get it, right?
I think I like that as much as the asterisk story. That's fantastic.
I don't think this is true, but I like that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
as you mentioned, Troy, this is our inaugural podcast, and Troy, Tor, and myself we want to talk about all sorts of things. Like you said, the asterisk, the Channel 42. We're going to talk about lots of things other people aren't talking about, and probably things other people are talking about as well. Should we do introductions?
Yeah, let's get going.
You want to go first, Troy?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Troy Martin. You can find me on the Twitter sphere at Troy Mart, just like Walmart, but much better and better customer service. I've been working in networking for over 10 years. Over 20 years in networking. Over 10 of those years have been in Wi-Fi. Worked in a bunch of different verticals, including the mining and industrial space. Working with a bunch of IoT type protocols, which we'll have the opportunity to discuss as we go through our series of podcasts. And I was asked by Phil if I already climbed up to a podcast with somebody else. Turns out I was gaming solo all this time, and so we teamed up with Phil and Tor to put together the Channel 42 podcast.
Awesome, thank you, sir. I just started the recording. Unbelievably, pre-planning, right? I thought, oh, no, don't worry, I'll just use Camtasia. My Camtasia won't start. I got no idea what's going on with my laptop. So I forgot to start the recording earlier. I just started it now it might be in the WLA. So anyway, we may have missed the start. We may have to pretend and redo the start or something. but not a worry. But
Okay,
we are
we'll
being
start over. Do the same jokes again.
Um,
No, not really.
sure. Troy, tell us
Sure.
what yourself, dude. A tour, sorry. Guys,
Oh yeah. Okay.
where am
We
I?
are really going back to the
Aliens, they
beginning.
brought me back. Tor, tell us
So
about yourself, please.
my name is Tor Olsen. I'm living in Denmark, and I'm sure that it's a bit remote from you, some of you guys. But I'm originally from the Faroe Islands, so you could say that I'm a fairy. I've been in the Wi-Fi industry for more than 20 years. I'm originally educated like a radar technician, so I can spell RF. I think I can. And I've been working with different types of projects, fun projects like trying to get Wi-Fi or wireless to work on oil rigs. At present time, working with wireless on container terminals. Great fun. We have to do a lot of compromises all the time. And I'm also, because I've been in the military for more than 18 years, I got a bit paranoid, so security also my thing. So that's kind of who I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just got a message, by the way, from WLAN Association that they did start the recording. So I've probably started a second recording. I've probably broken it now. We'll see what happens.
Always
We'll
have a
to get
backup
together.
for Phil.
We'll have to get together and do this again, right? Absolutely. All right. So I always tell people I've been doing Wi-Fi. I can remember B being the new thing, the exciting thing that everybody's talking about. Woohoo, 11 megabits. I've been doing it for a while. What I do is wireless, cybersecurity, and now I'm really getting excited about IoT, and we'll talk about that later on. I really enjoyed hearing people talking about the IoT and the Python and things references today. Our world is changing, and I think we have so many opportunities here if we can identify them and move with them. Sounds good. So that's who we are. What should we do next, Troy? What's the next part of the plan?
Well, cool. Thanks, Phil. And it came up on some of the POD-A-THON today. Some people were talking about COVID and the pandemic that's been we've all been experiencing for the last few months. But I was just curious, Phil and Tor, what have you guys been doing while we've been kind of in lockdown for the last 2 months?
Oh, doing the zombie apocalypse. Tor, what have you been up to, man?
Yeah, I'll be working. So I'm really not being affected by this because I usually work with guys all over the world. So I'm sitting at my computer, having meetings, doing design proposals, troubleshooting. I used to travel a lot, so I'm not doing that. And my wife actually, to my kids, said, "He's there all the time." A bit annoyed, but yeah. So I try to keep away in my office most of the time.
Cool. I've been trying to do things I've always wanted to do, and I've decided to learn a new language. I've tried to learn Italian and Spanish and French over the years, and I've always wanted to learn Latin. So I've started learning Latin.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah.
I guess.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what have you learned in Latin so far? Like, how has it been hard?
It's pretty easy, but ask me, why am I learning Latin?
Why are you learning Latin, Phil?
Quia non possum, Troy. Quia non possum.
Ha! Because you can.
That's the one, dude. How about you, Troy? What have you been up to?
So I've been taking a little bit of time, and I've also been trying to learn languages. So I spent the early part of my youth in taking French immersion classes, and I never quite appreciated it. We spent a lot of time learning the intricacies of grammar and the language, and I thought, man, French is really complicated. Like I don't learn all these grammar rules in English. And later on in high school, I was introduced to all the grammar rules of the English language. But right now, during COVID, I've been spending a lot of time on Duolingo learning Spanish. And so one of the phrases I've learned is "porque puedo."
Because you can. Nicely done, Dick. Yeah.
Deep.
That wasn't at all set up, was it, guys? Yeah. So yeah,
So
actually,
why-
I've always
why
had a
Latin,
big
Phil?
interest. I've always had a
Why-
big
why-
interest in like the Romans and things. Why am I laughing? Why am I
Oh,
laughing,
why
Troy?
Latin?
Why
Queer non
Latin?
possum.
So now he's actually asking, is the pig Latin?
Now that's interesting. I've heard of that. I don't actually know what that is, but
No.
so Duolingo is they just launched a course on it, and it's actually not as hard as you think, because a lot of words are what you identify in, like maybe if you've spoken any Spanish or common words in Spanish or Italian. I can't think of any at the moment, but I'm trying to think of one about like home, or it's dormio or something, right? Which is like a dorm, and it's really easy to see where these words have come from. Now, I've been told if you pick up Latin, you can pick up other languages real easy, and I tried in my life to do French, and I tried to do Italian, and I tried to do Spanish, and they just don't stick with me. So I thought, hey,
Dormitorio. Dormitorio
Yeah,
for room.
right, yeah. You do that very well, dude. I'm impressed. Yeah. So my birthday present, it's on my list. You can actually buy Harry Potter et Philosophiae Lapis. It's
The what?
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in Latin, and I'm probably gonna struggle, but I'd love to have a read of that, and then maybe go on to some Cicero or something. Maybe take it a little deeper.
So the whole book is in Latin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I know the story, I've read the book a couple of times. I'm hoping that it. You got to like immerse yourself in it, right? If you try and do a word a day or something, it doesn't work that way. You've got to really immerse yourself, and it's going to be a struggle. But the first day I'll probably read about 3 lines. Second day, go for 4 lines. The end of the month, I might do like a couple of pages a day, and then you got it. I've always wanted to learn Latin. I didn't take it in school, but I've always wanted to learn Latin. A couple of guys are saying that they took John is saying he took Latin for 4 years in high school. Yeah, and the good thing, of course, is if I know Latin, I can insult people with what I'm saying. Talk about people, right?
That's good.
I just switched
One of the
Danish,
things I
can do
like.
that.
How many languages do you speak, Tor?
The Scandinavian languages, Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, Faroe Islandic, and or you could get Farish, and then German, English.
I love the way
That's
Tor
it.
says the Scandinavian languages. There's like 3 bundled in there. Or the Scandinavian languages, I speak them.
Yeah, but that close.
That's about 6 I just counted, Tor, right?
That's one of the things I
and
love
if it's
about
Spanish and maybe going to no. That's pretty much it.
So the Scandinavian languages, are they more like German, or are they more like?
How dare you?
I'm sorry. Let me take that back.
No. They are
common?
Germanic, and there's some similarities. Fun story. The first time I went to the States in San Diego, I was with some guys, my colleagues, friends, and they actually there was a guy that approached me. I did. Approached us and said, "Oh, I know that language. You're talking German?" I said, "Nah, not really." "Yeah, I know it because I have it in high school or some." So I said, you might study harder in order to recognize that language. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it is close. It is close, and a lot of Americans hear it as German. It's a bit harder language, like German or kind of Dutch also.
Dutch is very, because I'm Welsh, and we have. If I explain Welsh to you, we have like more than 5 vowels. Like Y is a vowel as well, which now you'll understand. Welsh is very. It's like the Dutch. When a Welsh guy and a Dutch guy start talking, you aren't sure if they're talking yet, or if they're clearing their throat, right?
No, not really. It might be the same with Danish in some cases. Some people have a tendency to say that we have a Ah, a potato in the mouth when we're talking. So,
Well, I always tell people the easiest way to understand, and with Welsh, Welsh is very emotional. So I always tell people, look, if you go to an English church, right, Moses walked down the mountain with the 10 Commandments. If you go to a Welsh church, Moses walked down the mountain. Way more passion, right? It's like it's almost like you're there. And Welsh is the Welsh people are very, it's almost like we sing sometimes. We don't mean to, but like when I get excited, my voice goes up like 2 octaves.
You're like a bard.
yeah. I was actually thinking that I've seen these long names of places in Wales, and I'm wondering if would it be taking forever to finish a sentence if you have to use these long words and I'm guessing you might also do it in general. I'm not trying to speak Welsh, so not at all.
I'm laughing because Alan has just posted something, and he basically posted, "Whose coat is that jacket?" And I'm laughing because my grandma used to say that. Welsh is a conceptual language, so like she'd say, when you take off your coat, okay, that's to hang up your coat. When you walk into the house, you're welcomed. You take off the coat and you hang up the coat, and this makes perfect sense in Wales. Who hung up their coat on the floor? It doesn't make any sense in English, but to hang up your coat is to remove your coat. But instead of saying who took off the coat and dumped it on the floor, my grandma would say, who hung up the coat on the floor? Oh, sorry, grandma, that was me, sort of thing. So we have a different view on things. It does help sometimes.
Definitely, yeah.
On a more serious note, of course, other things I've been doing is trying to learn a little bit. I started learning the Cisco DevNet stuff. Seen a lot of people talking about today Python scripting, IoT interfaces with our Wi-Fi systems and things. My goal is to see if I can get CCNP DevNet in the next few months.
So it's part of Cisco's program?
Cisco's program, yeah. It's basically that they have functionality in their program. It interfaces with Cisco DNA, interfaces with Meraki. They also have an IoT DevNet, which I'm very interested in looking at. I think it's more industrial IoT. And Tor, we want to talk a lot about IoT and talk about it in this session as well, right? The things we're doing with IoT. I think IoT is going to be huge. Have you done any studying, Troy, or anything?
I have, right? So I've spent some time playing around with the DevNet stuff, and it's as far as resources and lab setups, I think it's a fantastic resource for anyone in the wireless community to get their feet wet in terms of learning Python and coding. Just the access of equipment they have, the structured tutorials they have. I think it's a fantastic setup. It's actually, in my opinion, one of their best programs that they have. But there's tons of resources that are out there. Like for the month of April, Pluralsight had delivered all their content for free. So you could register for any of their Python learning programs. So they had, beginners, intermediate, advanced training programs, and they have tons of resources. If you want to get deep into the machine learning and the artificial intelligence, tons of content there. How about you, Tor? Have you looked at any of this?
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I've been attending classes with Python for network engineers. Realizing that we have to get back to coding. I've been coding in an earlier life, so that's kind of part of that, being a network engineer nowadays. And luckily, I've got the opportunity to get my hands on a DNA center. I'll be setting that up
Nice.
shortly in as a start in my lab environment with a lot of gear, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'll definitely we'll dig into coding while I'm setting that up also. So yes, and the lockdown actually, as I said, I've been working most of the time, but it also gives you the opportunity to dig into some some new stuff, as you said, DevNet related things, and get smarter and wise on some specific topics. Yeah.
Oh, there's some great material out there. Absolutely great material. And it's
Yeah, so Phil,
it's Cisco oriented. Go ahead, Troy.
So I was just say, you open up this can of worms with Python, and just in your experience, what have you found as good ways to learn Python? Is there anything you can share?
Well, Google, YouTube. I know that a couple of guys have done some great Python introductions. Before we go on to that, though, there's a question. Troy, Tor, Landon's asked, what is our opinion of ISA 100.11a? Do we have an opinion?
I think it's an overrated protocol. It's far inferior to the protocol that currently saturates the market, the wireless HART protocol, which builds upon the existing wired HART standard that has been around for decades. Later on, we can talk a little bit deeper into that if we want. And I don't know if we wanted to jump ahead in our schedule or turn around and come back to that.
Let's come back to that one because I think that was a great answer.
Okay.
Because I don't know if people realize you did a webinar at WLPC a few years back on HART, right?
On wireless HART, yes.
Yeah, which which everybody should look up. It's pretty good webinar. Yeah. So
thank you.
interesting. My pleasure, man. Pleasure. So you asked about learning programming. Now it's funny you should ask that, Troy, because I have a plan. So I did create a couple of slides. Let me share my screen. Okay, it's much easier. Let me do that. And so here we have a little slide set that I presented. I wanted to get the logo on there, but we haven't decided on a logo yet, so we haven't got it. You can see my screen, everybody? Can you confirm that? Fantastic. So here's a little, it's not a 30-minute talk. I just stole this from another slide set. It's not going to be that long. This is presented at POD-A-THON Day, a little bit about us coming up on emails and things. I wanted to mention here that I mentioned here that I'm the CTO, CSO. I'm also the EIO.
EIO?
Yeah.
What is that, Phil?
I inherited it from my boss, Old MacDonald. Do you know him, Troy?
I've heard of Mr. McDonald.
Yes, he used to own a farm, right? The old jokes are the best. All righty. So I wanted to introduce you to some things. I wanted you all to be really safe at home. And this is a little presentation. This isn't the presentation I wanted to show. I stole the presentation from someone else, and these were in there. I thought, I'm going to leave these in. And I want to let you all know that these are actually available on Amazon at the moment. You can buy anti-radiation stickers, which I think we all need, especially with all the rumors of 5G and all that COVID virus going around, right?
Oh, it's horrible, the 5G radiation. Terrible stuff.
Now, you think, all right, that's fantastic, Phil. It gets better. You can buy these. I wanted to buy a pair, but I'm not spending $90, right, on anti-radiation EMF protection. Then again, maybe we should. You can buy radiation shielding blankets. I'm like, this stuff just gets better and better.
Maybe that's what Alan was wearing.
And then you can get this. You put your Wi-Fi router in the box, and it keeps you safe from all the nasty radiation. If you don't believe me, you can buy this. And there's like, when you read the ratings, someone goes, oh yes, my allergy to Wi-Fi radiation was really bad until I bought this box. And now I'm much better. And you're like, fantastic, guys. Fantastic, right? Well, Troy, you asked about programming.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a little section on, hey guys, we all need to learn a little bit more about Python. And I thought, right, how do we do this? Do we do Python? Do we teach you some JSON? Do we teach you some YAML? Do we do a little bit of C? Somebody earlier on mentioned Ansible and then they shut it. And I thought, well, it's a little bit unfair, right? Because there's so many programming languages. Then I remember how I first, well, a long time ago when I was in college, I did COBOL, and that makes me shudder as well. Then I remember that my programming skills were reawakened a few years back. I was playing a game called Minecraft. Okay, now in Minecraft, you can make something called a turtle. Okay, so you make a turtle in Minecraft and you can program it using a Lua-like language. It's basically based on Lua.
So what is Lua? What is that? Do you know what that stands for?
Can't remember what it stands for, but it's a programming language. Actually, I didn't prepare for
So
that.
I remember seeing it in World of Warcraft. It's also used to automate maneuvers.
It's kind of, I'm going to say something now and we'll see how many messages appear. It's kind of Python-esque. Let's just wait for it. Oh, no, it's not, because the syntax, oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, yeah. But it's close enough, right? So what I thought is, let's have a bit of fun with this. And I'd like to put a challenge out there. And this helped me to learn programming. And it seems like a real easy challenge, but it's a lot more complex than it first seems. Now, obviously, you can load up Minecraft and do this, or you can, play with kids, grandkids, family, whatever. But what I want to do is I want to put a challenge out there and give you 4 challenges. Challenge number 1, I want you to design some turtle code that will mine every block on a matrix. For example, here we have a chessboard. The turtle is going to come in here and he's going to move from block to block, rotating around, mining the blocks inside Minecraft. Okay? Start on the outer edge, go on the chessboard and go. So what I'd like for people to do, and why the heck should we do this, Phil? Well, there will be prizes. What I'd like you to do is write some code to mine like an 8x8 chessboard. Challenge number 2 is I want you to make it work for odd and even matrices. Now, you're all sitting there thinking, this is a walk in the park. I thought so as well. I just wanted to mine some stuff in the game Minecraft. And it took me quite a few days in the end. I got this working, and I was quite proud of myself getting this working. If you do this, you can learn functions, you can learn if-then, loop until, while, do, all sorts of things. So challenge number 2, I want you to make it work for odd and even matrices. Now, I'm more than happy for you to submit the code that says if you got an n by n matrix, if n is odd, do this function, else do that function. That's fine. Challenge number 3, I want you to do 1 and 2, and I want you to make the turtle go back to its starting position. And it's got to face the same way. And you learn in a little while that the back function doesn't work and isn't allowed. And then anyone who's game on, challenge number 4, can you write a combined efficient set of code that works for odd and even matrix arrays, okay, and goes back to the starting position. And I want it to be efficient. Now, I wanted to do this, and I spoke to Ree, and she's like, you can't just give this to people. You got to give them prizes. So I persuaded Ree to give us some prizes. So if you do challenge 1, 2, and 3, send it in. We'll give you a $25 Amazon gift card. If you, we also, for challenge number 4, we'll give you a $50 Amazon gift card, okay? Now, proper documentation will not be counted in the size count, because challenge number 4, I want you to make it as efficient as possible, okay? But it will win favor. So rules, real simple, I'm the judge, my decision's final at the end. If you use reusable code, functions, and do good documentation, that will win you a little bit more respect. For challenge 1, 2, and 3, we're not going to let the same person win them all. So challenge 1, 2, and 3 will be won by different people, but you can enter 1, 2, and 3 and do number 4. Well, obviously, you can't do 1 and 4 because it's got to have both 1 and 2, right? The code must work. We will test it. Now, you can either provide turtle code or you can provide pseudocode. I'm not making you all go out and buy a copy of Minecraft, but this is quite a bit of fun. If you've got younger family members, just some bonding time with them. You can use things like forward, left, right, and dig, but there is no back command allowed. So I thought that might be a bit of fun. Get some programming done. If you can write this code, it is a much simpler step to get up to Python and start using Python. And what you find in Python, most of the stuff is done for you. The most important command you can learn in Python is import. Once you've learned import, you reuse somebody else's code.
Sorry, Phil, now that there's money on the table, just to be clear, it's the first person that submits their answer that meets the requirements? It's not everybody who submits an answer that gets a $25 gift.
Oh, so we're gonna choose from challenge one. Good call, dude. So we're gonna choose a winner from challenge one, a winner from challenge two, a winner from challenge three, then a winner from challenge four. One winner. So there's one Amazon gift for each of the categories, and challenge four is a bit bigger. You can do 2 and 4 and 3 and 4.
So is there a time cutoff, or it's more the first person that submits the answer wins?
I'm going to give people 30 days from today to do this, to submit them, and then maybe future podcast we can declare the winners. Troy.
Cool.
Yeah. Just thought, bit of fun, right?
Cool. Sounds awesome, Phil. It kind of reminds me of I was trying to get my kids to play with Playgrounds on iPad OS. So very, very similar activities there, where they give them challenges like that, where they have to walk around a little maze. Instead of mining with the turtle, they have a little robot that pushes a button or has the hop or turn around. But it's a very similar concept, which teaches fundamentals of programming. But it's a good way kind of to gamify them, learning programming languages.
Yeah. Some people are saying, Manon mentioned Roblox, similar concept.
Yeah.
A couple of people have mentioned, sounds like Logo, very similar concept to Logo. The thing is, you aren't going to buy any electronic parts. You just go into load Minecraft, go into creative mode, create a turtle, and then you just move forward. Now, it sounds absolutely easy, and I challenge you to try it, because it's not as easy as it seems. And I will give a little bit of the game away. If you get it working on an 8x8 matrix and you try a 7x7 or a 9x9, it goes horribly wrong. I actually programmed something wrong in my loop somewhere, and I set off my little turtle. I came back 10 minutes later, and this thing is gone. It's like gone off in a direction for infinity, and I never found the poor little turtle ever again. Yeah, so just a bit of fun, I thought.
Now, does it have to be a turtle, or it could be a rabbit?
Well, the thing is actually called a turtle. You build a turtle. But the rabbit, if it's like a hare, you mean, Troy, wouldn't that be too fast?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Efficient.
So, good question. Where do we submit it to? Here's our information. Here's my information. You can email it to me, phil@netswithexpert.com. And I don't know why you have a picture of you only, Troy. Probably because you sent me back a picture of you, right?
Must be vanity.
It must be, yeah. It's a good hat, though, Troy. Good hat. So I'll type it in chat as well, if it's easier. But you can just submit it to phil@netswithexpert.com. Now, one thing, I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned it enough. The code must work, right? Now, if you don't want to buy a copy of Minecraft and program the turtle, you can just send me pseudocode, okay? But now you're relying on me typing the code in to translate it. So the code must work. If you submit it and the turtle doesn't do its job, if the turtle doesn't mine, like the picture shows, and it goes all the way in, and when you submit it, please tell me which challenge you're submitting it for. You can submit for all of them if you want to. Okay.
Phil, couldn't we just play the vendor card and say that was the patch that will roll out later?
Coming soon, right? Patch Tuesday.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, I just wanted it's really cool. It's a really good challenge. I hope we get a lot of people participating in that. There's a chance to earn some money. One of the things that I've been looking at during this pandemic is just a way to kind of take my mind off things. So I've been doing a lot of virtual cycling. So I've been using a program called Zwift, and basically it's I have a bike trainer that I connect my bike to, and it interfaces with the Zwift cycling program. And my bike trainer, it can measure my power output from my pedal strokes. I can measure my cadence, so my cycles per second. I can also monitor my heart rate. I have the scale that I can also step on too, that not only measures my body weight, but also body composition. And I can do things like I can measure, the amount of sweat that I lose during a workout, right? So I can figure out how much water I have to consume and how much salt, potassium, I need to replenish some nutrients that I've lost. But what's really interesting is that all these sensors and everything that I'm using, they all connect either via Bluetooth or using ANT+ technology. So ANT+, it's kind of a niche protocol. It was developed by Garmin, I think, back in like 2003. A lot of the early type health type sensors, they started to use ANT+, but now a lot of them are dual mode, so they support either both Bluetooth and ANT+. But really, this whole virtual cycling thing, it's gamified cycling for me. So I connect via Zwift. There's challenges that I receive, based on how far I cycle, or if I complete more courses, I get more virtual points. You can give kudos to other cyclists. They have scheduled bike rides. You can schedule a bike ride with your friends. You can race with professional cyclists, around the world. The picture that you have up on the slides, there, Tanya Ira. I believe she's one of the Spanish riders on the pro circuit. But she was a 2017 winner of the Zwift Academy. So they have yearly challenges where they get a whole bunch of the pros racing through these circuits. So it's very, very lifelike. And if you can see from the image up there, that while you're cycling there, they have courses that go around London through virtual worlds that they call Watopia. But it's a lot of motivation to kind of take your minds off what's happening, right? So even if you spend your day thinking about Wi-Fi, you can kick back, ride your bike, get some exercise, get the blood pumping through your body. What I end up doing is I've been catching up on a lot of the podcasts. So many of the podcasts that you've listened to today, if you've been sitting through the entire 13-hour POD-A-THON, the Clear Sand, the Spatial Streams, WLA Pros, a lot of the podcasts there, I listen to them, on 1.5 times speed as I'm cycling through these courses, trying to distract myself. But I think it's really interesting that I'm able to use all these different protocols to connect all these different sensors, collect a whole bunch of data, and then after the fact, I can sit down and I can analyze, how much power I outputted. I can track that with other sleeping apps. So compare, do I get a good sleep that night, or was I able to output more power because I had a better rest from the night before? So there's a tremendous amount of data that just me as an individual, which is a small handful of these IoT sensors that I can create, and then I have the ability to go back and analyze that. And the more I cycle, the more data, and the longer I can go back in time and look at all this information. So I found that a great way to kind of disconnect my mind from things that have been happening. Other programs that are out there, there's a program, Sufferfest, which gives you challenges. I've seen some people on Twitter also use One Peloton. But there's a lot of these different applications that can really help you take your mind away from things.
And of course, it's a safe environment. You haven't got to worry about cars while you listen to your podcast, right?
Yeah. I was hit by a car several years ago. They took a right-hand turn right in front of me when it was a no right-hand turn zone, and it's much safer to ride virtually than it is in front of cars.
So, stupid question, but do you find the virtual environment, because it's giving you all this data, it's more engaging? Because you can jump on a bike and ride, but now you've got all this data coming at you. You know what? I'm gonna do 2 more minutes. I'm gonna do 1 more kilometer. Do you find that is more entertaining, is more fun, makes the experience more enjoyable?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. Like one of the challenges I have going on this month is there's a virtual component. It's a ceramic gear cog set that they put on your bike, and it makes you a little bit easier to go up hills and stuff like that. And to get this challenge throughout the month is I might have the numbers slightly off, but I think they're asking us to cycle, because you can select different bikes. So you can have like a virtual mountain bike, a virtual time trial bike, or a road bike. So they're asking us to do something like 100 kilometers on a regular bike, 80 kilometers on a time trial bike, and 40 kilometers on a mountain bike. And if you're able to do that within the month, you get this kind of virtual award, or this virtual badge, where now I can have this virtual component on my bike. And then in the real world, all the people who complete this challenge, they have a draw and you were able to win with this real component that you can put on your real bike. But I have, to your question, I have found myself going a few extra kilometers every day to get closer and closer to meeting those targets. So I've really found that it does encourage me to go a little bit longer, a little bit further.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And great segue into IoT, right? It's a practical example in IoT. And I really like what Landon said earlier. You know, you apply for a job in IoT and, you know, hey, I got 2 years experience in IoT, and tell us about what you did. Well, I got my Alexa plugged into my light bulb, and you know, these people at this oil refinery tour looking at you with a kind of like, what the hell are you talking about? Because they want like a 35-kilometer link to top of the mountain in Alaska where the oil pump has stopped working, and they want you to debug what's going on. And you're like, can Alexa do that? And I just thought that was a really good point, that industrial IoT and our house IoT and even enterprise IoT are really different spaces. And that's what we want to do with the WLA, Troy, right? Our WLA work
yeah.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, the IoT work group at the WLA.
Before you do that, a question: do the Swift software and things like that, is the feedback to the bike or so you can get it hard, make it harder to do the track?
Yeah. So the bike actually, it links up to like an Apple TV, so you can get an app on the Apple TV or on your iPad. You can run it on there. But as you're going up the course, there's the elevation on the course that you're riding on, and as the elevation changes, it adjusts the tension on my bike, right? So like I've done in the virtual world, like I've done 17 degrees incline, which felt like I was biking up like a vertical wall. You can also do like negative 17 degrees incline, and you're zipping along at, you know, virtual, 80 kilometers an hour, but it does dynamically change the tension on the gear set.
And I would say this is kind of bad for me, because now I need to have this. So
It's awesome.
good,
It's
good
fantastic.
inspiration.
I
I think it's really, it's awesome. It is. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't interrupt.
Phil, you're going to tell us about the WLA, the IoT working group.
Yeah, so Troy and I swapped ideas a while back, and we wanted to do more with IoT. There doesn't seem to be much information out there. More information has come out now. I shout out to Keith, who launched some graphics showing us Bluetooth, Zigbee channels compared to the wireless LAN channels as well recently. Troy and I, maybe the names on the website, but I really want to shout out to Mr. Peter McKenzie here, who's really joining us for this and helping us for this. And Peter's doing quite a bit on the Zigbee side. Troy, you've got a lot of experience with HART. My thing is Bluetooth, and Peter is General 82.15 and the protocols and things. And what we want to do with the work group, we've been saying this for a bit of a while now, Troy, haven't we? And we keep on going off on tangents and doing things. But I want to get a blog entry done, just an introduction, and it's going to be where to get information. So, for example, I'm going to point to Keith's blog that he did. I think it was for Aruba, if I remember, Keith. A great introduction to BLE, and I'm not going to redo it. I'm going to say, hey, go read this, because it's a fantastic introduction to BLE. Then, Troy, you're going to do a video, a webinar, and a blog on, is it HART again? Update us on the latest things.
Yeah, on wireless HART, just to give an overview of its protocol, its nuances, differences, how it's used in the industrial space. And I think I'll compare it again to Wi-Fi, just because our targeted audience in the WLA is kind of those coming from the Wi side of things. So just kind of compare and contrast terms that may be more familiar with the Wi-Fi engineer, and how they kind of port over to the 802.15.4 space and the wireless HART space specifically.
Awesome. I'm going to talk more. I'm going to do a bit deeper blog later on, and maybe a webinar on BLE. And Mr. McKenzie, you're working on 802.15 foundation, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just looking at the 15 standard, particularly 15.4, which I think is, I think it's going to be, it's an important standard, really, as you look at the IoT market. There's a lot of the technology, a lot of the IoT, especially the industrial IoT technology, is based upon 15.4. And even technology which isn't directly based on it, a lot of the foundations are in 15.4. So you take something like LoRa and LoRaWAN, that's built upon shared spread spectrum. And actually shared spread spectrum is actually defined in 15.4. So it's actually a proprietary implementation of shared spread spectrum in LoRaWAN. But there's a lot of really, it's a much bigger standard than I think people realize. I think there's something like about 14 different PHY layers defined. Just
good thing about standards, right? There's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
I think you're really talking about the onion there, Peter. Like there's a tremendous amount of all these IoT protocols that all have that foundational base layer in AHL 15.4. So starting with that gives everyone a staging point to move into more specific and niche protocols, having a good foundation in AHL 15.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. I think it's a sort of foundational thing, really. And understanding how all those pieces fit together, I think is quite important. So that's what I'm still trying to look into, really.
Oh, I think I think Wi-Fi engineers have to understand IoT, not just from an interference perspective, but Troy, I wanted to bring you in on this because Troy, I've got to give you the credit for this. Troy said we need to talk about security, right? Because the S in IoT is all about security. And if you think about that for a while, you'll be like, there is no S. Absolutely. That's the problem. Okay. People's video cameras being taken over as botnets is ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. But like we said, the S in IoT is how we secure it. And one of the most important things we have to do is secure this stuff. And I'm looking now at pen testing and things. I'm beginning to put my nose in pen testing in the IoT world. And if you think pen testing in the Wi-Fi world is easy, just you wait till you see what goes on in the IoT world. It's like, oh my gosh, it's too easy. Todd, do you have any thoughts on security in our?
Yeah, when we're dealing with IoT, it's especially a big challenge because IoT devices are not built for security. They're built to fulfill a narrow purpose, and they have to be cheap and have to be capable of being mass produced. So the focus is not security, and when we're dealing with security, we will have to go back to kind of segmentation, isolating these kind of devices. We need to have some mechanism where we can get them onboarded to networks and not do, because the risk is there. As you said, the camera can be taken over. You can be owned on your small single board computers or whatever you have. And it's a huge risk. So we really need to consider where we will allow these IoT devices to get access to data. On the other hand, for them to really be able to give us the benefits we need, they actually would need to have access to some of our core services. When we're doing asset digitization, where we're actually putting in IoT devices into thousands and thousands of containers that are shipped around the world, and these containers, they need to have access to the backend systems. So we do have a challenge, but it's good because then we have more to do. That's good.
So I got a question for. Sorry, I just had a question for you guys. With Tori, you mentioned that these are low cost, cheap IoT devices, and we need to start thinking about security. You talked about segmenting our networks. Do you think it falls on us to manage these IoT devices on the infrastructure side, or do you think in parallel we should be pushing back on the IoT manufacturers to increase the features and security components that they include within their products to increase their security capabilities?
I think the later. We need to push back and say, okay, we need you to be more professional, include security or manageable security into these devices. big companies are capable of doing this because we can actually go in and say, okay, we won't buy your product if you don't secure it properly. But on the other hand, in consumer network, we will have a lot of devices where people just buy it because, oh, it's fancy, it's yellow, it's red. And that's one of the big challenges. We all know that consumer devices have a tendency to seep into the enterprises. But I agree with you, Troy. I definitely say we have to push back on the vendors. And I did interrupt you, Peter.
I think it's important that when you talk about security, I think this is why knowing the technology is important, why having a user group, because some technologies, some IoT technologies do have security built into them, and some have absolutely none. So again, when you're picking a solution or an IoT system, you know, having that sort of knowledge is what I think is important, because actually, how do we push back when we buy the systems which are using secure technologies? We don't buy the ones that are using insecure protocols and insecure systems. There's quite a bit of work in the IT field about security already. But I agree, is the people who are buying the chips or putting their products, they're not thinking about it. They're just going, we don't need to think about what technology, what's the cheapest chipset that will get this device online or with some sort of communication. So if they're not going to think about it as consumers and as industries, we have to think about it and go, actually, what distinguishes this company's wireless lighting system over company's speed lighting system is actually they're picked doing it a secure technology and a secure protocol, and we should buy that one. Which is why I think education in this space is really key.
Well, I think
that's whether it's really helpful with the work.
Oh, we lost you, Tom. So I think it's really paramount, because someone can, hey, Pete, look, I've got this really cool app. It was really easy to set up on my phone, and it controls all my home equipment. Hold on a second. And you're like, hey, Phil, look how easy it was for me to control your... The problem with easy is it's easy for the user, and it's easy for the black hat hacker as well, right? Sorry, Tom, you lost your bud.
Yeah, I realized that. No, I was saying that the work in the WLA and other organizations will be really helpful. As you said, Peter, we have knowledge about some of the standards that will be secure, and if the enterprises go and push back, and you said, Troy, then we know that money talks, and if we don't buy the products, we eventually could come up with some solutions that will be secure. But I still fear the consumer market and the influence it has on the enterprise. We have to be aware of that.
So have you guys been successful at pushing back on any of these IoT or consumer grade IoT devices coming into your networks? Or have you had to accept them connecting and then just take appropriate action on the infrastructure side to try to mitigate and limit any risk or exposure?
Actually, both.
Okay.
But we have a situation where we say, okay, we'll go with the solution because it's the secure solution, and we'll not buy your, and I'm not be swearing, but your mediocre solution. And that's when you set up some of the requirements for security concerns, we should be able to support. I'm using my home Wi-Fi. I'm a Wi-Fi engineer.
So Northern Lights interfering?
Well, I just want to make a quick comment.
That's
right?
All the electrostatic or whatever it's called. Yeah.
So Tor, I just want to make a quick comment. We all have pretty pictures behind us in Zoom. Tor, you've just opened your window and shown us outside your house, right? That's happening outside your house now,
yes.
right?
Yes, that was actually my thinking. That's actually something we can see, at least on the Faroe Islands where I used to live.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, but it's the good thing is you have the northern light, but it's also dark, most of the time in the winter time. So yeah, but
Awesome.
I
good
think one of
things.
the,
Guys, I think we're coming to the end of our session. I just want to quickly address a question that someone asked me a while back. Bryce asked me about my Punagotchi. Bryce, I will send you a link, sir. I embraced Punagotchi. I have 4 of them running. I got it working on the Pi 4 as well. Got all sorts of fun going on. And I did a talk for our local hacking group on the Punagotchis the other day, which is, I believe every home should have one. No, I believe every home should have 2 because they get lonely. If you haven't got a Punagotchi, look it up, go get one. You got 3.
I have 3 myself. 3.
Awesome. Yeah.
Figwit, Dimwit, and Nitwit.
What was that? What was the
I
name?
named them Figwit, Dimwit, and Nitwit.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we're coming up to the end of our thing. Is any last comments from anybody? Peter, were you going to say something, sorry?
yeah, not particularly that relevant. I was just going to say on the whole thing of do you isolate devices or not buy them? I think it depends on its intention. Some devices, you know, like a CCTV camera, it doesn't need to and should never communicate with the internet. So you can isolate it and firewall it off. And you should do. We had a CCTV camera once trying to connect out someone. We don't know why or why.
Yeah.
But some devices are all now cloud controlled. They're cloud managed. The way you interact with them is via the cloud. It doesn't work unless they have an internet connection. And it's those devices, I think, which are more worrying because we don't know what they're connecting to, what they're sending, and I think that's where we need to push back more.
So
That's all
I was thinking about that, and it's real easy, right? Let's make it secure. Let's just allow the temperature measuring IoT devices to connect to our temperature server. Hey, Phil, we've got this really good idea. We want to enable this cloud app. Okay, so now we have to go out to the internet. Hey, why is my temperature server sending 1 gigabit per second out to the internet? Is the question that you're going to get next, because it probably isn't secure and someone's broken it. And you know, it doesn't need to send out 1 gigabit. It can send out 10K a second. But when you got like 1,000 of these things doing it, you got a DDoS attack going on against someone. And when the guys in the van turn up to find out who's doing it, they're going to be knocking on your door, or the traffic is coming from your devices. And really good point, Peter. I want to emphasize that you should have firewalls on your IoT networks. Absolutely. Maybe 2.
And they need to be the type of next gen. The firewall need to be capable of looking into behavior. So as Peter says, there's no need for a CCTV camera to go to some website and or go to a command and control center in a city called Klaksvik in Faroe Islands. So look at the behavior when dealing with security. But that's kind of some of the things we've done for quite a few years now, and we still have to do it. The old good lessons are still valid when we're dealing with IoT.
That's a great.
Guys, I just want to be mindful of the time that we're at the top of the hour.
I think we're over. So
fantastic discussion. I think we should follow through on our next podcast. Talk maybe perhaps about more discussion about the architectures that could secure IoT. But just as a wrap up, our intention with Channel 42 is to talk about all things IoT, IIoT. Maybe throw in some ham radio stuff, some CBRS, LTE stuff. Talk a lot about Wi-Fi security. But just as a wrap up, we just want to go around the room, just let people know how they can reach out to us on social media. So I'm Troy Martin. You can find me on Twitter at TroyMart, the handle TroyMart. And our co-host Phil Morgan, how can people reach out and get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter at CCIE5224. It's me.
All right, and cool. Thanks, Phil. And Tor Olsen, how can people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me at Twitter at the handle at 2RN1. So it's 2 Romeo November and the number 1. And my phone number and my social security number. No.
So Wireless LAN Association just thanked us, and Fanay said this was a tease. Absolutely, Fanay. This was a tease. We can take the things we've talked about in this session and make hour-long conversations. One thing I want to add to what Troy said, is we don't want you to come to the WLA work group and listen to us talking. We want you to come and participate. I want to sit there and learn from you, talk about something that you know. So please come on over, join the working group, email myself, email Troy, email Tor. Tell us you want to join in, and we want you to help us create content as a group and learn more about the IoT. Because if you haven't worked out already, IoT is going to be huge, right?
Yeah, let's leverage the power community here.
I think so.